Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless.
Let's go. Now, what's the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's like rat poison.
Yeah. Oh,
The greatest scam in history.
let's get it.
Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah.
Alright, you ungovernable misfits. I'm your host, Max. Everybody knows that Bitcoin is useless, worthless, and doomed to fail. But what if everyone's wrong? What if it's the system that is doomed to fail? Join me as I speak to some of the brightest people in the space and slither to the deepest, darkest depths of the Bitcoin rabbit hole. Welcome back. If you've been listening to this show, I am almost certain you know about the new Foundation Devices Passport. I've been very excited about it for some time now, and I have got Zach and Bitcoin Q&A on the show today to discuss it. Foundation Devices are sponsors of this show, so obviously I'm going to be slightly biased, but I do have them as sponsors for a reason. I really respect the team and I love what they're building. I'm not going to go into a full ad read today, but I will say go to the website foundationdevices.com, and if after listening to this it pushes you to go and buy one, I suggest you use the code BITBYBIT. It will get you $10 off your purchase, and as always, if you have any questions you can reach out to me and ask. Before we start, I want to say thank you to my other two sponsors. First up, we have Fast Bitcoins. Fast Bitcoins makes it so easy to stack sats, and they are all over the world now. They are expanding at a rapid rate. Their team is incredible. I joined them the other day for a Spaces, and yes, they are a KYC exchange, but they do everything that they can to make sure that you are kept secure, and they push as hard as they can to get you to remove your sats from exchange as quickly as possible. Go to fastbitcoins.com today and you can ask me if you have any questions. And finally, before we start, Casa. Casa make it so easy for anyone to have multi-sig security. I actually covered this in the last episode with Bitcoin Q&A and Black Coffee, and we went into the trade-offs with using a service like Casa. The one thing I really love about Casa is with the gold membership, you can actually do this with a NIM, so you can set up a separate email address and you could send post-mix coins there, and it keeps you pretty private. As long as you're running a VPN and not exposing your IP, this is a brilliant way to have multi-sig security and have a company there to hold your hand without having to reveal all the information that you might not want to. They have an incredible team and I have a huge amount of respect for them. I'm very proud to have them as sponsors, and if anyone wants to reach out and ask me how to do a setup like this, or they have any other questions, I'd love to chat to you. It's keys.casa and you can use the code BITBYBIT10 for 10% off. Enjoy the show. When Zach arrives, it's already going.
I'll trust you.
How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Not too bad. You didn't catch COVID after the London event then, though? I know a few people that did.
No, fucking everyone's got it. Like, I swear everyone I speak to, including all of my family, have got it. I think I must be immune. I'm so hard that it bounces off me. Yeah, it bounces off me, mate.
I can't see my waveform on Zencaster. I'm just checking you can hear me okay.
Yeah, I can see it,
right.
But I'm not sure
Fine.
why you can't. I mean, it should be okay.
Fine. I've just sent Zach the link anyway, so it should be
okay. I've pinged it
here
him as well.
Any minute.
But yeah, so you've avoided it as well, have you?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, no symptoms, so which is good.
That's good, mate.
Here he is.
There we are.
Is my audio all right, by the way?
Yeah, sounds good, mate. It's all coming through clear.
I messaged you on Telegram the other day about asking what size hoodie you were in that samurai hoodie. I want to order one. I just don't know what size best to get.
I ordered mediums, but they're slightly tighter than I'd like. But then I am a fucking unit, so that's probably why. No, honestly, I think medium's fine.
Yeah.
If you like the snug fit, or like a slightly snugger, but then maybe large if you want like a relaxed fit.
Cool. All right. I'll get my order in this afternoon.
Nice.
Hey guys,
Hey Zach, how you doing?
doing well. How about you?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Just talking fashion.
There's new hoodies on the website. Is that
Yeah,
what's going on?
Yeah.
They look good. They look really good.
Thank you. Well, nice to have you on again. I cannot believe that we've got this fucking beauty coming out. I've been reading through all the release notes and bits and pieces, and I was just thinking this morning, like when I was getting ready, I was thinking, oh, okay, I've got this pod to do. And I was thinking back to like when I first spoke to you, the first one hadn't been done, like everything was theory. And where you have come in this short amount of time is fucking incredible. So yeah, I just wanted to say like massive respect to you and all the team for getting this out and ready. It's really, I can't wait to get one in my hand.
Thank you. Yeah, we're extremely excited to ship this thing. We think it looks really beautiful, and it's definitely a departure from the kind of industrial designs you see out there. But obviously, it's not just the look, right? Fixed a lot of issues that not issues, but a lot of things we wanted to improve from the first batch, and then the app too. We're really excited about.
Yeah, well, so we'll dive straight in because I know you guys are really short on time, and otherwise I'll waffle on about my dog and all sorts of nonsense. So, yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way. And first of all, design fucking beautiful. And before we move on to like past the looks and feel of it, what was the inspiration for this? Because it's, like you said, it's very, very different to sort of the more boring and basic designs that are out there. Like, how did you work towards this? What were you inspired by? And is this a direction that you're going to continue with, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. This is more like taking Art Deco principles and applying them to like computing hardware. Maybe I should say I am kind of sick of the ultra minimalism. Everything looks the same. Obviously, Passport Founders Edition, I think, looks great, but it looks a lot like everything else in terms of, whether you're looking at an Apple laptop or an HP laptop or any of these phones or anything like that. They all look kind of the same. They have different elements to them, but Apple has really just pushed the entire computing hardware world into this like minimalism. One cool thing about Bitcoin is the low time preference. Some of my favorite accounts to look at on Bitcoin Twitter are sharing like the architecture, like the fiat architecture versus what it looked like, 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago or so on. And things are more ornate, more artistic, more beautiful, I think. And so we were trying to figure out like how can we take some of these elements? We really like the Art Deco kind of stuff, and how can we bring it into this still like modern feel, but make it feel a little bit more ornate, low time preference, maybe you could even say. And we just started calling it like digital deco as our new design language. So that's what we're going to be doing from now on. So our stuff is always going to look really different from everyone else, not just obviously in Bitcoin world, but just in, computing hardware world in general. And we hired, our first hire was this amazing guy, Andy. He's our head of design. I describe him as like our libertarian Johnny Ive.
Well, he's fucking absolutely knocked this out of the park. And
he really has.
Yeah, I love that idea of like the low time preference and the Art Deco feel. It does definitely stand out, and you're right, everything is the same. I was saying this to my missus the other day. She was like, I really want this new flip phone thing, and I was like, why do you want it? She's just like, because it's different, because every single phone is just a little black rectangle which is exactly the same as every other black rectangle. Just to have something that stands out is exciting and different. And it's hard to do it and still make it look classy, but you guys have managed it. So yeah, congrats.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then so past that, let's dig in a little bit to what has changed since we last spoke. So obviously new hire, Q&A is now on board, and I know you've had another couple of people join as well. You've got Lily and a couple of others. So the team is growing. How's that been?
It's been incredible. I'm seriously pinching myself that people like Q&A and Lily and a bunch of people that, aren't so public, right? Some fantastic engineers in the space have decided to join our team. Everyone's really philosophically aligned. Everyone's really excited about what we're doing. And I just feel like we have this, kind of superstar team. Everyone is also what I call like really T-shaped and multidisciplinary. Our engineers are working up and down the stack across, everything from like same person can do embedded stuff at the like device level up to user interface stuff at the mobile app level. Q&A has actually been really pulling a lot of weight on the design team, which you maybe wouldn't expect. But yeah, he's been working a lot behind the scenes on the actual product stuff, not just doing the support. And it's really fun to have such a amazing team and pretty small team. We're less than a dozen people, so we're able to do a lot with a relatively small team.
Q&A, you dark horse. You didn't tell me you were getting involved with the design side.
What can I say? I'm a man of many talents, some of which I didn't even know existed until I sort of dove headfirst in working with Andy that Zach touched on earlier. He's an incredibly talented guy from a design, from many perspectives, but especially from a design perspective, and getting the opportunity to sort of broaden my horizons a little bit and support him in sort of putting the building blocks together of, the user interface that people are going to be, hopefully ecstatic with. I know we are internally, from, the flows of different screens to the copy on each screen, just really sort of, I guess we work really well as a team in terms of, with his design prowess and my sort of experience in dealing with people that are new to the Bitcoin space and knowing what normally trips them up, from in terms of UX or terminology. I think we made a pretty good team, and the end product, we're really, really happy with it. And hopefully everybody listening to this is going to agree as well when they finally get one into their hands.
Yeah, and this is exactly like what I wanted, where you take really like multidisciplinary engineers, and not all. I mean, all of them are into Bitcoin, but then you also take people like Q&A and Lily and others who are really just like users of these products and are actively helping other people learn how to use, wallets and other, nodes and all that kind of stuff. And then you put everyone together, right? And as you're working on the product side, even people who are not, quote, product designers or anything like that are still participating in the design process. And, the design meetings that we have twice a week are open to the entire team. And so you end up getting a lot of opinions in there, a lot of strong opinions, and you don't confine people to their specific, job role where they just have to do a list of specific tasks. And then we're able to take all that experience and knowledge that the whole team has and, put it into practice when we're making these products. So I think you'll especially see this on the mobile app side with Envoy, because it is probably the most simple, like maybe even boring, like Bitcoin software wallet that is going to be on the market. And I think that's a good thing.
Certainly for onboarding people. And like you were saying, the experience there from like Q&A and Lily and people who are constantly troubleshooting and helping fuckwits like me sort things out, they start to get a really good feel for where people trip up. A lot of things are more complicated than they need to be. And so I was really excited to see that you were having this app. And when I saw the announcement, I thought that's really nice that you're keeping it simple. And from my understanding, it all connects over Tor and doesn't reveal the IP, which is really nice to see that security and privacy comes first.
Yeah, so we kind of set out with Envoy. Our main goal was to make it the default choice for people who buy a passport that have maybe not had any exposure to some of the other great pieces of software out there, like Spyro or Spectre, or the ones that might be, they're very feature rich, but they might be a little less approachable. We wanted to, previously our documentation was directing people towards Blue Wallet because, we felt that was the simplest option and easiest way that we could get people started with Passport and a watch only wallet. But we thought, as good as Blue Wallet is, and it's, incredibly feature rich again, we thought that we could do a better job that was purpose built for Passport so that we could, not only do we supply them with a beautiful hardware device that's really secure, but we can also hold their hand through the form of a mobile application to make their onboarding even smoother than it already was. So, Envoy will guide the user from turning the device on to setting up a PIN code, to following the supply chain validation, to updating the firmware. One of the key features of Envoy is that if you buy a Batch 2 Passport, we will be shipping with adapters for iPhone and any other USB-C port phone so that you can do firmware updates direct from your phone. Envoy will notify you when there's an update for your passport. You can download that automatically straight to your phone, pop the SD card directly into the adapter, which is plugged into your phone, and you can update the firmware in a completely guided fashion, free from the need to mess about with any laptop or desktop. So there was just little increment steps like that we thought, we could just really iron out any little kinks in the onboarding process to make it as much of an approachable process as possible. And again, my personal opinion, we've done an incredible job. And, over time, I'm sure we adding more features, but we are sort of hypercritical of what features we add and when we add them so as not to be detrimental towards that simple onboarding and UX process.
It's a big thing, actually, not having to have a laptop, because, a lot of people who are getting into Bitcoin don't really use a laptop. Like, most people use their phones all the time and they like to use it. They feel more comfortable using it. And so if you have this really slick app that you can use on either iOS or Android and interact with your hardware wallet that way, and from my understanding, the way that you've done it, it seems to be very secure as well. From what I can understand, there's no data being passed on charging and these sort of things as well. So I don't know. I think that it's going to be very appealing to a lot of people, and it seems like you can attract a bigger audience and pull more people in and make Bitcoin exciting and fun for people who aren't sort of nerdy Twitter dwellers like us.
Yeah, we built Envoy with the we kept our company principles at heart, in terms of privacy and sovereignty. So as you touched on, the default connection to the default server, which will be run by us, is over Tor, so we don't gain any IP address information. Equally, if you're a slightly more advanced user that already runs your own node, fantastic. We will allow you to connect directly to that as well, so you can completely cut our servers out of the equation whatsoever. And again, just, we try to keep the jargon to a minimum, make all of the, menu options and everything flow really nicely and not to overwhelm the new user. So we sort of ensure by building the guide rails as high as we could that the users are taking what we perceive to be, best practices, so that, but they're doing that without even kind of thinking about it. It's just the default within the app.
Yeah, and there's almost, just to like dive in a little bit into more detail, there's like almost no decisions or settings or anything that you have to do within Envoy, which is something that's really important to us. Oftentimes you go into like a wallet and there's like multiple menus of settings. And so if you're new to Bitcoin, you're just like, what is all this stuff, right? So like our settings menu is, you can choose the currency conversion. You could say if you want to be in USD, then you can denominate, your balance in USD. I think we're starting with like 7 currencies and an option, just to do Bitcoin only. You can choose whether you want to turn off Tor, which is enabled by default. Sometimes there may be a reason why you want to do that. Like if you're in a jurisdiction that blocks Tor and you may want to connect over VPN or something, but it's on by default. And then you can choose to connect to your own node. And then I think the final setting is to toggle between just Bitcoin and Sats as the unit. And like, that's it for right now. So it's like an extremely Zen-like experience because there's really nothing to configure. And then within the wallet, there's like nothing to do. So the only decision you have to make when sending a transaction is whether you want to pay a higher fee to get it there faster. And we just call that a boost. Otherwise, there's no like fee selection. It defaults to the low fee, and it gives you an option to pay a little bit more. There's no like choose between these 3 different fees, enter in a custom fee, nothing like that. And the reason for this is because like we're not pushing the Envoy wallet on any of our users. You are more than welcome to use Passport with the wallet of your choice. You can use it with Sparrow, Spectre, Blue Wallet, and virtually every single wallet today that supports connecting to a hardware wallet supports Passport now. So like we're still supporting this first class, best in class experience with Passport for pairing with these different software wallets on desktop and mobile. And so we encourage you to do that. We almost feel like it's perfect to start out with this really simple single sig watch only wallet inside of Envoy. And then once you get up to speed, once you use Bitcoin for some time, you then may want to switch to a different software wallet. And we encourage that. And so it's a very different mindset than some of the other, hardware wallet makers where they want to keep you in their software ecosystem, where it feels very much like a walled garden. We're not like that at all. The mobile companion app features the Passport, like the ability to do the onboarding, the firmware updates, get important notifications in app if there's like a new firmware update, or especially if there's one where there's like a vulnerability reported. It's nice to be able to get that out to the user base immediately. Like you can do all that. It works really well. You can do all that and then not use Envoy as your wallet, or you can just say I don't want to use any of it. And you're still more than welcome to use, download the firmware from our GitHub. The support site is up and maintained with all the links and the onboarding. So you can just opt to not use it at all. And so we want to make sure that like we're offering this really Zen-like simple experience to new users, but then we also preserve all the power user, features and all the stuff they want, because the last thing we want to do is say, you have to use this app. I know that can rub people, including myself and Q&A, the wrong way. So that's kind of, why we made Envoy. And then I know I'm pretty sure I said on a past podcast with you early on is like, we really wanted to get Passport to the point where you can just give Passport to a friend or a family member who's new to Bitcoin. And then you don't need to stand there over their shoulder for 3 hours, guiding them through the setup. I think we're much closer now than we were last year with the Envoy app and Passport Batch 2.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I was literally having this conversation with a couple of family members the other day because they've decided they are now going to take their sats off exchange because I've annoyed them to the point where they're just like, I just can't bear to hear him say it one more time. And so they are going to do it. And to be honest, I was thinking like, I don't know what to do here. Like, obviously, I would like to get them set up with a Passport and I'd like to get them connected to Sparrow and I'd like to do all this. I was like, it's going to be such an arseache and I'm struggling for time. Whereas as you were explaining that, I was thinking, well, yeah, I probably could literally give them that box and I could just wait with them for, 10, 15 minutes and just answer any questions and everything should be pretty smooth. And I feel pretty comfortable that they're going to be secure and safe and everything's going to go okay. And so that's really reassuring, like knowing that you can just give them a box, pretty much walk away, and you have these guide rails up because it's stressful otherwise. Like, I'm not the most technical person. I can get by with a little help from my friends, but I certainly don't like onboarding people to complex systems where if they fuck up, they lose everything because it's probably going to then be me who's out of pocket because they're going to whinge and say, oh, you forced us to do this and now we've lost everything. So I think it's really encouraging. And I think that, like you say, it's just like, it's a gateway. And once they start using this for a while and get comfortable, then maybe they move on to something else. But it just makes the whole process so much more simple.
For sure. And we actually launched, we haven't formally announced it, but it's available to purchase on our website. We launched a new service called Concierge Onboarding that can make that even easier for, friends and family that are new to Bitcoin. It's Q&A's service, so I can let him explain it a little bit more.
It's funny you should bring that up, actually, because Max was probably one of my first unofficial concierge customers, I would like to say, in terms of a hotline for support. Concierge Setup is essentially, an add-on service that when you are buying a passport, if you've already bought a passport, you can purchase from our website. And what it essentially is an hour sit down with me on a call, and I will hold your hand to go from literally zero, you haven't even opened the box, to having your passport set up with a PIN, updated the firmware, generated or imported your seed words, and paired that with a software wallet, be that Envoy or software wallet of your choice. And obviously, you'll also have the opportunity to ask any questions along the way. So again, it kind of harks back to what we were saying before around, offering the sort of tallest guide rails that we can. So we think we've done a really great job in terms of the sort of autonomous onboarding, the default of, you buy a passport, you download Envoy and you follow the instructions. Most people are going to be, are going to have a really great time with that. But there's some people that, maybe they're not sort of a visual learner, or they need to sort of speak to people one-on-one to kind of, hash out ideas or answer any questions as they're doing the process. So this, the concierge service is for those type of people that just want that extra helping hand, really, to bounce ideas or questions off somebody when they're actually physically doing the setup process and, pairing with the wallet of their choice. So I think it's going to be a really valuable service for some customers, and I'm really looking forward to getting started with that.
That's really cool. And what's the cost for someone who, wants a bit of hand holding?
The concierge setup is $99.
Okay, that's very reasonable.
We're not trying to make any money off of that, right? Yeah. We're trying to more like cover costs. And if it's successful, we've already had a nice, I think, percentage of customers in the last several days add Concierge Setup to their order, which we're really excited about. But it's something that, we'll have to hire more people on the support side for Q&A to work with and train if Concierge Setup is successful. And this takes my first job out of high school was at the Apple Store. And one of the main things that I saw extremely successful with them trying to get people to switch over to a Mac was offering this $99 one-on-one setup where you would get the computer, and then in the store they say, bring in your Windows computer. We'll sit down with you for an hour or so. We'll help you move everything over to it. So this is kind of a similar vein where, it's not to make money. It's to lower the barriers to getting onboarded with Bitcoin self-custody with Passport, right? So some people really benefit from the extra help, and it can be scary when you're doing this, even if you have a great guide to follow or a great app that's walking you through it. Sometimes just knowing that an expert like Q&A is there to answer any questions and guide you through the process, make sure you're not making any kind of rookie mistakes. Sometimes that's enough to give you that final push to pull your coins, off of an exchange and get set up securely with a hardware wallet. And so that's what we're hoping it will accomplish. And we're actually hoping that we'll be able to bring on more support people, because there's so many great people in the Bitcoin space who are just doing this already, for fun. And I think Q&A is probably the most famous of them. But there's a lot more who are kind of acting as Uncle Jim, right? And helping their friends and family get onboarded. And if we can give them an opportunity to do that at a larger scale, I think it's just going to be really beneficial for the space.
Definitely. I mean, confidence is the key word there. It's like 90% of the time where people are unsure and they're worrying about, oh, am I doing this right? Like 90% of the time, they're actually doing the right thing, and it's fine, especially if there's guide rails up and you've designed the app this way. But it just means that it's going to be a more comfortable, more enjoyable experience. And that's what I've found when I've had to reach out to Q&A. I mean, a million times with all sorts of crazy, stupid problems. But yeah, it's always just like, I'd be overthinking something. Oh, am I giving away my identity by doing this? Or am I going to trip myself up further down the line because of that? And the guides and things like that are great for some people. But then people like me, I can read a guide like 10 times over. It can take me a whole day. And I just get all confused and lost. I speak to someone like Q&A for literally 10 minutes. And I'm like, oh, okay, that answers all my questions. So it depends how people learn. And that's invaluable to have that as an offer from Foundation.
Exactly. And just to give a quick anecdote too, from like a privacy perspective, I know you noted that Envoy connects over Tor by default, which is interesting just from like our minimum like product requirements, for the V1 launch. Even though the app and the wallet itself is so simple, having the Tor connectivity and the option to connect to your node was just so important to us and a requirement for V1. Likewise, even with Concierge Setup, like we're keeping privacy top of mind. Our calendar booking solution is self-hosted. The actual call will take place on a self-hosted Jitsi
Nice.
call. And so we actually run a lot of that internally too. Like our company has been running our own Jitsi server for all our meetings for at least, 6 months now. And so we're able to provide the really high-end user experience where you're like, oh, I'm booking this thing from a calendar booking. I'm doing this great call with the option to do a screen share or stuff like that. But it's all self-hosted for us. And so you're not exposing that information to any other service that maybe would be interested to know that, you're doing a call to get onboarded with your passport, right? And so just everything we do, we're thinking about the privacy angle, even if it's something as simple as a 1 hour, one-on-one call with Q&A.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And the other things that I've noticed with this is like, you've not just released an app and done an update on the looks of this thing, but it's thinner. You've got better battery life. You've got all sorts of extra features that have been worked in here. And it's obviously been a long slog. Like, what's it been like trying to push this through with all the issues that are going on in the world and supply chain problems and everything else that I imagine you've been faced with? Like, are you both okay? I know you've been working around the clock. I know that I'm constantly saying, how are you, Q&A? I'm working. I'm like, okay, all right, mate. Like, are you both holding up all right? It sounds like it could have been stressful.
I'll let Q&A start, and then I can talk about the supply chain.
Yeah, I'm going to come out with a really cliched quote here, but the old saying of if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I've been quite open and honest about the fact that landing this job for me was literally a dream come true. So although I work twice as hard as I did in my Fiat job, I'm exponentially more happy and enjoying day-to-day life. So yeah, it's just been thoroughly enjoyable for me from start to finish, and it's the first time I've ever kind of been part of a sort of product launch from start to finish. To from seeing just hashing out basic ideas on a Word document to getting to the point where you see the renderings come up that anybody listening to this can go and see on the website, and then to finally we're almost there in terms of getting a device in hand has been an incredibly magical journey, but not without its hiccups, which I'll hand over to Zach to detail on in terms of supply chain and whatnot.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear the answer though, Q&A. Yeah, so I mean, obviously everything's. I mean, we love what we do, right? So we're used to all these kinds of supply chain hiccups and stuff. But the world has been, I think, especially bad in the last few months, and even in the last 6 months or so, or the last year. Fun fact: I don't think I've talked about this anywhere else, but this Passport Batch 2 is internally branded as Passport 1.2, there was a 1.1 that we had to completely throw out due to supply chain issues. Yes. So originally what we wanted to do was we wanted to just take all the feedback, from our customers and just our internal wish list of things that we wanted to change between the Founders Edition and then the Batch 2, and just make some small tweaks, right? Just some small tweaks that would make it better, but would not require like a large redesign. So what we did was we identified, I think that we were still going to use a rechargeable battery, if I recall back then. So that was still something we really wanted to do. So we can talk more about why we switched to the rechargeable lithium ion. But the main point of feedback was that the screen has like a front light on it, and sometimes is like uneven in terms of brightness and doesn't like exude the quality that matches the rest of the device. It is, in the Founders Edition, it was a monochrome display, so black and white. And so we were switching that to a backlight so that it would be really nice and bright and kind of uniformly lit. It would be better when you're trying to scan a QR code on a computer, for example, because sometimes the webcams can be kind of finicky when you're doing the QR scans to a small screen. And so that's what we were moving towards without any kind of large redesign. And then the screen maker basically kept pushing out the lead times to the point where I think we wouldn't have even been getting anything until maybe Q1 of this year. But at the way they were pushing things out, they couldn't even commit to a delivery date. And this was back in the fall of last year. So, maybe October or something of 2021. And so we basically said, screw it, let's just redesign the whole thing. And so we did all this in not too much time, found a screen that's actually a really beautiful high resolution color IPS display. We have a custom glass that is bonded to the display with a 6H hardness, which is pretty much like Gorilla Glass level. So I've taken like a pocket knife to the screen samples and stuff and have been unable to scratch the screen, which is really exciting because we have this vibrant, high resolution, bright display, way better for QR scanning from something like a computer webcam, and just more consistent and really matches the quality of the device. We threw out the AAAs because we were having a lot of issues with, like, if you were not using lithium AAAs, sometimes the device, like depending on what brand you buy, it would behave differently. It could die after, minutes or an hour or something like that. And so we liked the idea of AAAs, but we're like, let's just do a rechargeable because we're going to be able to provide really accurate battery indicator, and we're going to be able to provide longer battery. And what we ended up doing was still having the magnetically removable back cover, but using a standard Nokia battery form factor. So you can find these everywhere. You can find them on Amazon. You could find them in local electronic stores. It's the BL5C. It's like the most popular Nokia battery. And it's much thinner, obviously, than the AAAs. And so we were able to use that. So we have the benefits of the rechargeable lithium ion, but we have also the benefits of being user replaceable and not proprietary to Foundation. And so if something goes wrong, if you need a new battery, you don't need to, email us and wait for us to send you a new one and so on. So then we also just did this full redesign, and we figured like we'd take it as an opportunity. We shaved so much cost off of the device that we were able to drop the price point, from $299 to $199 for pre-orders. It is going up to $229 once we start shipping, but that's still a pretty significant price reduction, especially when you look at how other hardware wallet makers have continuously raised their prices over the last several months. So that's just a few highlights, and those are kind of the key differences. Obviously, we were able to make it thinner. We did have to put a USB-C port on it to charge the battery, but it's a special and actually cheaper type of port called a power-only USB-C port. You can actually look at it visually and see that it only has a very small number of pins. It's missing most of the pins inside the port because it's only meant to carry power, not data. So that was important to us. We're like, if we're going to put a USB-C port on, we need the user to literally be able to look at it and make sure that it's not like, connecting to data or anything like that. so that you can still charge the battery in a convenient way. So I think those are the main differences. But yeah, we actually had this intermediate like device that we were planning on shipping sooner, and the supply chain stuff just really screwed with us. And I don't even know if that screen is available now. And so I think we made the right move by doing the redesign and redoing or really thinking about our component selections and sourcing everything. Now, the only stuff we are still waiting on is some plastic and metal. Everything else is in the factory. We did the first run of the circuit boards, worked great. We're going to be starting the full production at the end of the month. We're a little nervous though about the plastic and the metal because of all the craziness in the world, but hopefully, everything will get here, and then we'll just be able to quickly, throw it all together and start shipping out to customers.
And so when you talk about the metal, is that the kind of rose goldy copper?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Because is that the same as you used previously? Because that was beautiful. That was one thing that really stood out for me. I was like, fuck, this is premium.
It is. There's a couple other cool things about it. So the front, we call it the front housing, and then the back cover are plastic. We have a nicer finish and a different plastic supplier, a much higher quality plastic in general. So that's important because I personally was not fully satisfied with what we ended up shipping. We had a lot of trouble with that plastic supplier. And then the metal, yes, it's the exact same. It's a zinc alloy. It's plated in real copper, and it looks awesome. We're going for more of a matte copper finish instead of like the glossy copper finish. So it's going to look a little different, but it's going to be pretty cool. And then we now have a power button on the side just to make it a little bit easier from like a UX perspective, so you know exactly how to turn it on. And then we also have these main select buttons and a nav button, which are also copper. And we were trying to figure out, like, do we do those in plastic, the buttons, and do we paint them copper and try to color match the real metal? And then we were like, screw it. And so those buttons are also solid metal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Not the number pad, but the main nav buttons, and the select buttons and the power button. It's not color matched. It's legit the same metal casted and plated in the same copper. So it's pretty damn cool.
Very nice. These are the details where you can feel the difference. You can feel quality through weight and touch. And yeah, I'm pleased to hear that, because if you're going to be interacting with this thing and people who are storing their wealth on it, like you want the experience to be like a special experience. I know that sounds like a bit wanky and people are like, oh, it's just a hardware wallet, but it's not. Like, it's the way that you interface with Bitcoin. And for many of us, we spend all our time thinking about Bitcoin. Like, when we interact with it, it should be a nice experience. And packaging wise, who is responsible for that?
I'll say Q&A. No, I'm just kidding. No, Andy is our head of design.
It's really nice. Really, really nice. I mean, it's difficult to see completely and get the feel for it, obviously, just through a website. But yeah, I can see that a lot of thought has gone into that.
It is. So I put out a tweet and we put out a picture of the packaging because the packaging is done. Actually, I have a box sitting here, and our supplier, I think, just finished the whole production run this week of the packaging, which is great. I just am like staring at it all the time. It looks so good, especially compared to even compared to like an iPhone box or something, something you'd expect. It makes our last stuff just look like total crap, which is funny because I really liked the last one. But it's beautiful how it all nests together. So top comes off really easily. Passport is just sitting there on top nicely in like a tray that's molded, perfectly for it. You have a little foam on the top inside of the box, which keeps it all snug and secure. We're going to have the little plastic you can peel off the screen for yourself when you get it, which I love, because being able to have this great glass and then being able to keep the protective cover on from the glass to the point when we get it into customers' hands. I don't know. I love being able to peel something off, right before you start using it. And then underneath we have stickers. We now actually do include a seed card where you can write down your seed. We still encourage like the micro SD backup, but there's a lot of people that want to write down their seed. And so, it's nice having the seed card there. We also have it's a perforated card. So we have a card where you can write down the numbers we're switching from words for the micro SD backup. Before we did it was 6 words to encrypt the SD card. We're switching to a 20-digit number so that there's less confusion with like the seed words. Because anytime you try to tell someone to write down words, if they know anything about Bitcoin, they immediately start thinking like, wait, is this my seed? Got a lot of questions about that and confusion about that. So now it's like, if you do the SD backup, you can write down your 20-digit number, and it's really easy to save that. It's so much easier to type that in too, to restore from the SD backup. But then of course you can still write down the seed words. We have like our getting started card, in there in the packaging with a QR code you can scan, which takes you right to the website to download the Envoy app, or skips you to our support docs if you don't want to use the Envoy app. Then we have, as Q&A mentioned earlier, micro SD adapters for USB-C and Lightning, so that you can plug the SD card right into your phone. We were trying to figure out can we do a universal adapter, the kind of crappy looking where they have like Lightning and USB and SD card, and they're like triangle shaped. And I don't know. We were trying to figure out what to do, and then we're like, screw it, we're just going to include both adapters. It's a little bit more expensive, but like maybe you want to use it on an iPhone and on your computer, or an iPhone and an Android phone, and we're just going to give you both. Then we also have a nice USB-C cable in there, and then also an industrial grade micro SD card in a little protective case.
Very nice. I like that you have everything included. One thing for the future, just to like add to your list of things to do that would be really cool, is like a metal plate or something like that. Like, I know there's loads of places that people can get it from. I'm just thinking like, if I point people to Foundation, I then have to point them somewhere else as well to say, go and get one of these stamping kits and go and get a plate. I don't know. It could be quite cool.
Yeah, it's something we talk about. I don't really like, I don't want to get like canceled for this from the other companies. I don't really like any of the plates out there right now. Some of them are good, but they're, I think, too expensive. And some of them are not too expensive, but I don't really like. I just feel like it's not intuitive enough for most people.
I think to come in on your point, Max, about sort of, this kind of piece around additional items and sort of, being the one-stop shop, there's definitely been talk internally around doing stuff like that. So maybe seed plates, if I can twist Zach's arm, branded charge, high quality branded charging cables, additional SD cards, industrial grade SD cards, replacement batteries for, although these are, commoditized batteries that are coming in this device, you might be of the, if you're anything like me, you wouldn't just want to replace it with one that says Nokia written on the back. You'd want a branded one. Obviously not a requirement, of course, but just little add-ons like that we can offer to the customer that, again, will sort of make us the one-stop shop for their kind of Bitcoin cold storage needs.
Yeah, I think we'll get there once we pass. So, the first batch was 1,000 units. This batch 2 is 2,500 units, more like 2,400, because we're going to keep some set aside for any kind of replacements or anything like that. And then I think once we're consistently at like 10,000 units, for these batch sizes, we're doing over 10,000 units a year, which will probably come pretty soon. Then I think we'll expand the focus a little bit to having a bunch of different items on the online store. It's just we're trying to stay really focused right now. We're very much operating more in like batch form as opposed to consistently shipping units. Once we get into a more consistent flow, then I think it makes sense to do that. And I think there are some great companies that make seed plates. I think we can either partner with one of them or collaborate or something like that and do something that's lower cost and, as intuitive as possible for everyone. Because there are some I like, but it blows my mind that these seed plates can be as expensive or in some cases more expensive than the hardware wallet. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
No, they are incredibly expensive. That's why I'm so tight. I still use washers and bolt and nut because I can't bear to spend the money, and it does the job. But it's just, I don't know. It's, once you build a reputation and people get the hardware in their hand and they say, oh, this is really nice and I've been using it for a year or two or however long, it's like the same as Apple. People like to go into the Apple shop. They like to buy all the extra accessories and products from there because they trust it, they know it, and they feel comfortable with it. And so, yeah, I mean, obviously something for the future. I know you guys have been flat out and got so much on your plate. It's just a thought. I just blurt these things out as they come into my head.
A lot of people have been asking for a case as well. I would love to be able to do like a nice leather, case or something. So we'll see. We'll see what we can do.
Cool. And so I know you guys are tight on time, but is there anything else design-wise or changes-wise that we didn't cover? Anything that I've missed?
Yeah, I think the only thing we haven't kind of covered in any detail is the new sort of user interface on Passport itself that's going to be shipping alongside when the new device ships. So obviously it will form part of a firmware update for existing, Founders Edition users. This everything that we're going to be doing is backwards compatible, aside from where that's not possible from a hardware perspective, but we don't foresee that to be much at all. So the new update is going to be, we've kind of redesigned the menu structure so that we've floated the important stuff to the top so as to remove any sort of decision fatigue, so that, the more kind of advanced stuff, it has been sort of moved down the menu structure a little bit so that we've got kind of, I suppose, like a flat menu structure now. It works left to right and there's a lot less things to click for basic usage. So again, harking back to, tall guide rails and simple user interface. So we'll obviously be leveraging the beautiful coloured display for the Batch 2 device, and the Batch 1 device will be getting a monochrome version of exactly the same menu structure, so that we're moving to sort of an account-based system where each time that you wanted to pair with a different software wallet, of which there are many that we're compatible with, it's kind of a much more intuitive experience now, where you'd sort of just go across to the right-hand side of the menu and say, okay, I want to add a new account, and this time I want to pair with Sparrow Wallet. So we've kind of worked on streamlining that along with a lot of other things to make things more intuitive.
Yeah, I like that we have the left to right now. It's going to be pretty cool. We have this 4-way nav pad, but we were only really using like the up and down keys for the menu navigation. So now you kind of, and you can see this in kind of like on the renderings on our website, you can see that we have these little dots like at the bottom of the screen on Passport. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to be able to scroll left to get to your settings. And then you're going to be able to scroll right to get to a plus button. Then once you're in the plus button, there's a bunch of different things that you'll be able to do. You can add a new account really easily, as Q&A mentioned. And that's important because we bury the account stuff right now, being able to segment your funds for like personal or business, or maybe you want a different XPub that you use with Sparrow and a different XPub that you use with Envoy wallet, just for privacy reasons, right? And so we had it more of like an advanced user setting and less discoverable. And so now you're going to be able to just really easily go to the plus button and create a new account and add a label to the account. So it could be, primary, it could be personal, it could be business, it could be, it could be a separate account that you have for, post-mix coin joins, right? There's a lot of different things you can do. And so now we make it like a really easy discoverable feature, but we're also looking to figure out what else we can do with this kind of plus menu that we have now. One thing is we can make it much easier to apply a passphrase dynamically there. You can just go to add, you can kind of add a passphrase. Mm-hmm. Another one is that, we're finishing up right now the integration with Casa, which we're excited about. And so we've been trying to see if we can make it easier to add kind of custom flows or a custom account screen on Passport for specific apps or integrations that have a distinct need. So mm-hmm. With Casa, for example, they use some different terminology like health checks. So if we're able to have, scroll right on the Passport menu, go to the plus button, choose mm-hmm. Casa, and then you get a customized Casa flow where the screen is a little different. Now all of a sudden health check is right there for you and it says Casa on it. And so that kind of thing can make an enormous difference to Bitcoiners that are trying to use a user-friendly service where instead of having to follow some complex tutorial for their hardware wallet, we're doing the work for them and just like having these basic, pre-designed custom menus for different, different software wallets or services that you're pairing Passport with. It's something that I think right now is going to be a little unexplored because we're just shipping everything, the V1 of this new UI. But I'd say in like 12 months, we're probably going to have a healthy number of different things you can add and these custom, like more customized integrations with other software wallets and services. And I think it's going to make for like a really like a game-changing user experience compared to the existing flows that you have to do if you're using like some of the other hardware wallets.
That's good to hear, because that is the other thing. I do push a lot of friends and family to use Casa, especially if they've got a reasonable amount of funds on there. And so the more integrated, the more simple, the better. So yeah, it's good to hear that you're thinking along those lines.
I can do a rap if you want.
You can do a rap. You've
Rap.
got many talents. Go on then. What's your?
I was just going
Do
to
you want
say
me to do a beat or something?
No, I meant like wrap us up, but with a W in front of it. But no, I was gonna say, just to obviously show what we're doing, right? We're Passport Batch 2 is hopefully shipping, in April. Like I said, we're starting manufacturing at the end of the month, and so just waiting for 2 more parts, or I should say 2 more sets of parts to come in, and then we're gonna be packaging everything together. It's available to pre-order on our website, foundationdevices.com, for $199. Then once we start shipping, the price point will jump to $229. And then our Envoy app, which will be available on iOS and Android, and then also the APK will be available. So if you're using like something like, Calyx or Graphene and you want to download that, you'll be able to. That'll all launch alongside Passport. So we're just going to kind of time the launch to whenever Passport starts shipping.
Nice. Well, yeah, thanks for wrapping that up. I know you guys are short on time, so it's been great to catch up. I'm sure we'll speak over the coming weeks anyway, but yeah, congratulations on what you've achieved here. It's fucking awesome. It's beyond what I expected, and I would encourage anyone who hasn't already to go to foundationdevices.com, go and have a look, and yeah, thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks for having us, Max.
Yeah, thanks. Pleasure as always.
Speak soon.